This is going to be a good one. This is the kind of video that I wish I had seen when I first started doing videography. So stick around because I genuinely think you'll find this quite useful. So let's get into it. Good lighting is what is going to elevate your videos to the next level. I can't stress enough how important that really is. If you can learn to nail your lighting, then it doesn't really matter what kind of camera you're using to an extent. For example, I used to think that for a shot like this with quite a lot of dynamic range, that I'd need a camera like an FX3 or something like that to try and get this look, and it's simply just not the case. Right now I'm using the Sony a6700, which is a crop sensor camera. Here's the exact same shot but on the a6500, which is a much older camera. As you can see, it doesn't look as good, but it's not bad at all, and that's because of the lighting. So this lighting style that you're seeing here is called motivated lighting, and that basically means that I'm using artificial light to imitate natural light that you can see in the frame, i.e. these windows. So let's break this frame down here. So aside from the practical lights that you're seeing, so that's this light here, and there's a bulb over there, I think. I'm actually only using 2 studio lights, and you don't even have to use the second one, which is actually one over here that's lighting this section. On my phone, I can actually turn the back one off and you can see what it's doing, see what's fake and what's not. But this light in the back kind of looks like it's from this window here, kind of. I tried to make it look like that. It might not look perfect. Now you know what's artificial, you might now notice it quite a lot. So the 2 lights that I'm using, the first one, which is my key light, is the Xian B500, which is a 500 watt light. It's really powerful and it's great for shots like this where I'm trying to imitate sunlight. And the one in the back is just the Amaran 60X, which isn't as powerful, but it's great for stuff like this. Sorry, it's like flipped on my monitor, so I'm like thinking it's over there. But yeah, my key light is 500 watts, which is quite powerful, and it needs to be quite powerful. Let me explain why. You're gonna want to expose your camera to the light that you can't control. Now for me, that is this window light out here. I can't dim the world, so I have to expose the camera to that light so that it's not overexposed. I'm going to expose the outside light using an ND filter, which is on my lens. Now, as you can see, as I'm exposing that light correctly, the inside looks pretty dark. And that is why you need your light to be quite powerful, because you're taking away loads of light from exposing the windows correctly. You need a big light to bring that light back into your frame, which is also why it's handy to have 2 lights, because I guess it depends on your frame. Like for this, there's quite a lot of depth, so you know, you might have a closer situation, so you might not even need the second light. It kind of depends on what your frame is like. But yeah, it's got to bring in light whilst going through multiple layers of diffusion, which we're going to talk about in a second. But yeah, that's why your key light, if you're doing this style, needs to be quite powerful. This light is so cool. I've actually got a video about this light, like a review, coming out relatively soon. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel so that you don't miss that, because it's actually a really good light and it's quite budget friendly as well. Let's quickly talk about light positioning. Now for this shot, I made sure to put the light on the same side as the window. There was a hair, I don't know where that's gone. Because I want this shot to look naturally lit by the window. You know, if I put this key light on this side of the camera, there's nothing in the frame that shows you that there's light coming from this way, so it would just look really artificial. When putting it on the correct side, on the window where the light's coming from, sells the effect that I'm being lit by the windows, even though I'm not. I'm being lit by this giant key light. Having the light on this side wouldn't necessarily look bad, but it would just look really artificial. For example, in some of my other videos, you can see a window in the background and my key light is actually on the opposite side, and it doesn't look bad, it looks quite good, but it's quite artificial. But the reason I've got the key light on the opposite side is because there's a sofa in the way. I physically can't put it on this side, there's no space, so I have to put it on this side. And it doesn't look bad, it just looks artificial, and that's okay. But that's just not what we're doing here. That's not the goal of this lighting technique. You know, you want it to look like the window is what is lighting you for this frame. So again, I've put the key light on the same side as the window, so it looks like I'm being naturally lit by the window. Naturally lit by the window. I'll enhance this effect even more by showing glimpses of the window in my side profile shots, like this. A quick break for the sponsor of this video, and that is actually me, which is a bit weird. I've started a podcast with my best friend, and it's called We're Glad You Made It. We kind of just chat shit together. It's actually quite funny, if I do say so myself. If you enjoy a good laugh, then head over there and subscribe. I feel like I'm myself in those podcasts. Like for videos like this, I try and bring an element of my own personality to them, but I'm quite like straightforward. When in the podcast, I feel like I'm my natural self. It's quite explicit though, so just warning you for that. But yeah, first link in the description. It would mean the world to me if you went and subscribed and checked it out and let me know what you think. And that's it, back to the video. Now let's talk about diffusion and how I'm achieving this really soft light that you can see on this side of my face. By diffusing the light, I'm able to create a much more natural, softer looking light that wraps around my face, reducing the harsh shadows and giving it more of like a cinematic feel. I'm achieving this really soft look by using the SmallRig 85-inch softbox. That itself has 2 layers of diffusion. Then I'm passing that light through a really big diffuser, which I've sandwiched between the ceiling and the floor, and that's just giving me that final kind of layer of diffusion that just creates this really soft look, and it's kind of making the light massive as well, which is what's wrapping it kind of almost around this side of my face. Not so much over here, but it's kind of in front of me a little bit. This is also why you kind of need quite a powerful light to pass through all of these layers of diffusion while lighting you enough. And the icing on the cake is that I'm using a 1/4 mist filter on my lens, which is just breaking the light down even more and just making it quite soft on my face. It's also creating this beautiful kind of blooming effect on the lights and kind of through the windows as well. This isn't the only way that you can achieve this kind of natural light. There's actually another method called book lighting, and that's where you get your light and you beam it onto something white, and then you position it to beam that through a bigger diffuser, and that breaks the light down even more. It's a great method if you don't have a softbox, but if you want me to kind of cover that, I'll make a video about it because I think that might be quite interesting. If you have more than one light and your background is pretty dark like mine was, you can either use practicals like I have, or you can use the studio light and kind of beam that off the ceiling. And it kind of all depends on what your frame is like and what needs lighting. So just look at your frame and figure out where the light's coming from and just enhance that light with your practical lights or your studio lights, your artificial lights. Now, the last thing I'm going to do for this video is I'm going to just share a few key important things that will help you with your filming when you're doing this kind of shot. Shoot with a low aperture. Now, this is going to help your subject pop and it's going to make your background nice and blurry. But again, it depends on what your vibe is. It will also bring in much more light, which is quite important if you're trying to kind of mimic the window light. It's going to be quite dark inside. So bringing in a low aperture is going to bring in as much light as possible and blur the background, make your subject pop, those kinds of things. Right now my camera is set to f1.4, so that's pretty low, and that's bringing in as much light as possible, which is really good. It's great for low light as well. Low aperture is great for low light. Set your white balance correctly. Setting a proper white balance is crucial for getting accurate colors. I personally use a gray card, but you can also use your lens cap, which I didn't know about until recently. But yeah, forget like the whole cloudy setting and the daylight setting on your white balance thing. Just forget that and just set it with a gray card and your colors will be so accurate. It's just like, that is one of the key things, I think. Make sure you set your white balance every time you change your scene around or move into a different place, because lighting changes constantly and yeah, you'll need to do it all the time, but your colors will look really good, hopefully. They should do. Shoot on the shadow side of your subject's face. This is going to create a lot more depth and contrast to your shot. It's also going to make it feel a little bit more cinematic as well. If you've made it this far, let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for sticking around. I hope you found this video useful. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content like this. We're touching 3K. Touching sounds weird. We're approaching 3K. Touching was odd. Apologies. But yeah, 3K. It's such an odd number. Like literally. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you in the next one. Ooh. Ooh! Oh. Ooh, it's a spider. Is it a spider? Oh no, it's fluff. It's fluff. Ah. Yeah.